All right. What's going on, you guys? Thank you for tuning in for another episode here with Donald and I, bringing you some tips about Amazon FBA. And today's video is a very special one. We're going to talk about how to be successful when doing online arbitrage. Donald here has a tremendous wealth of experience doing retail arbitrage. Almost said online arbitrage. We're going to do another video about that, down the road. But today is going to be retail arbitrage. And we have some topics here that we had listed right before recording here, and pretty much gonna just use this as an outline. Of course, we're gonna flow towards it and stuff like that. And we can start off with basic tips. What would be like a beginner that don't know anything, want to start Amazon, see all these TikTok videos about going to Ross, Marshalls, and making 100K? Is that possible with retail arbitrage?
It 100% is. You just need to start in some avenues that you're comfortable with. So whatever categories you enjoy, whether it be beauty, looking at toys, books, as boring as it sounds, you can actually see a lot of success in books, just finding an avenue and then just slowly starting from there. So last year I started with toys and I was doing Lego. So I would go to different Walmart stores and look at the clearance aisles. I was just going and scanning random stuff. And looking back on it, probably wasn't the best way to do things at scale, but it was a really good way to get my feet wet and kind of start seeing what's sold.
Yeah, no, that's a good point there. It's obviously something we look back, we could have done things, better efficiently. But like as a beginner, I think, we always talk about, and you always hear about just, dive right in, take that action, which I think you're going to learn more versus just like overthinking, like, oh, what store am I going to get into today? What if I don't find anything? You have all these questions, but like you get there, you start scanning, you don't know what you're going to find, but like you learn something from it, just like getting out there.
Yeah, we kind of spoke on it a little bit in the first episode. I think the first time I really started seeing success was when I discovered the outlet stores. So going to things like Nike, Adidas, Skechers, New Balance, those were all a really good place to start. And then I slowly realized as well there were different coupons that some of these outlet stores supply. So if you're a new member, like with Nike, you can use the 15% new member code, which can help bring your buy costs down.
Yeah, and those are, things that you learn while doing and stuff like that, whether that's talking to another, Amazon seller, or you just find out by constantly going to these stores. Like I didn't know, like, for example, let's use the Nike. I didn't know anything about the 15% till it might have been you or another person I spoke to that had these, discounts. Plus there's other things you might be able to stack, like if you're, a military member, right? Or something like that. So these 10%, 15%, these can all add up to have your buy cost a little bit lower than, others might be able to get.
Can make or break an item sometimes.
Yes, that's a good opportunity. Speaking of that, I made a video, or not a video, a post a couple weeks ago. It's like items that you can't normally source because, you don't have that discount, or you might be paying taxes on them, which I think a resale certificate is a good topic that we can transition into, because you've met other people that you've sourced in different places, and you've seen them pay taxes. Like, what's the deal with that?
Yeah, some people, ignorance is bliss, I guess. Some people really just don't know that you can go to your local state um, tax center. I just contacted somebody
Or
who was
yeah,
within my local department.
or just
And
simple Google search, honestly.
yeah, exactly. And they were able to just mail me a sales tax certificate. And it's just a little tax ID. You'll bring in the paper to whatever store you're going to, and you can essentially get tax exempt on the items that you're purchasing.
So one thing that you guys should know, it needs to be a business, right? I forgot how I did mine, but I'm pretty sure it needs to be a
Yeah,
business,
you
like an
need
LLC.
to,
Yeah,
yes, yeah.
because you need to attach your EIN. So, if you have a business LLC EIN already, so it's just a easier step for you to get your resale certificate. Wherever state you live in, just Google or how to get one. Super easy, but it's going to save you, a lot of money. Like your state, Alabama, is 10%. I'm 7%. California
Yep.
could be, who knows, probably more. So, make or
Yeah,
break
and
in
it's
terms of the item.
there's no reason to be double dipping in the sales tax because Amazon, when you make a sale, they collect the sales tax for you and you remit it to the state at the end of the year. So why double dip on taxes? Why give Uncle Sam twice the revenue?
Exactly. And, that's one thing that these little tips that can help you a lot. Just coupons, resale certificate. What would be another thing that would be helpful to a beginner if they don't know anything? Like, what app should they even use, right? Like, I know there's different apps out there. Like, one is Shopify, not Shopify, Scoutify, right? From
Codify.
yeah,
Yeah,
Scoutify
yeah.
from Inventory Lab. If you guys didn't know, it's software that comes with Inventory Lab, which majority of Amazon sellers do use to list their inventory to get it shipped out. But if you sold books, or like at least I did, that was like the app to use to scan things. But the Amazon
Yeah.
seller scanning app is a tremendous tool as well.
I actually use a couple apps in conjunction with each other. So honestly,
Yeah, that's
my
right.
favorite is using SellerAmp for retail arbitrage. There's a couple reasons for that I'll go into. But I also use SellerAmp in conjunction with the Keepa app. So what SellerAmp provides that the Keepa app doesn't, SellerAmp will actually give you a little Keepa chart that looks just like the one you're using when you're doing online arbitrage. For some
Hmm.
weird reason, the Keepa app doesn't provide this chart. So what I use the Keepa app for is to look into the buy box statistics if you actually want to see if an item's selling, especially if Amazon is on that item. You want to make sure that there's buy box rotation, that Amazon is actually sharing that buy box with third party sellers because it's pretty rare actually, but sometimes they will just take the whole buy box for themselves. So you want to check into that and make sure that um, that Amazon is sharing the buy box.
Speaking of the buy box, we do have a couple questions in there that we can actually answer while we're at it. So Anna Wood actually has a question. She asked, "Why is there no buy box sometimes on a product?" So to answer that one, I mean, there's isn't really like an explanation. Like I don't know the science behind it. A lot of beginners do tend to stay away if they don't see a buy box, which I understand, right? Like you're taught to make sure it has a buy box, keep a chart as flat as possible. But if you dig in a little bit deeper, this is where experience and just playing with the Keepa, the more things you see, different charts, the more it kind of gets ingrained in you. Is, as Donald mentioned, the amount of sellers, is the buy box rotating there, or is the shares getting shared with it? Because even though there's no buy box, you can still see if the seller count goes down. That just to me indicates that the item is selling and stuff like that. Like, what other things would you give a tip in terms of that? Just items with no buy
Something
box.
I have noticed on some recent listings where a buy box was suppressed is if there's a massive fluctuation in the price. So say for the last 3 months, the price has been pretty similar, but then
Hmm.
somebody comes on and either people sell out and the price goes really high, or vice versa. People hop on and drop the price drastically. Sometimes that just flicks something in the system, I guess, and it might suppress that buy box for a little while. And then when the price goes back to its average 90-day, you'll notice, oh, the buy box is back. But
Yeah.
it really is case by case, like you mentioned.
Yeah, there's no really like exact science to it with that. All right, another question, Mr. Yusuf 7 here. How to manage price war and get more buy box?
How to manage price war and get more buy box. I think you just need to source cheaper. Have higher quantity. Sometimes that'll help you get the buy box over other people. If you've been selling the item longer than other people as well, you can usually get the buy box at a higher price.
Yeah. Also, if your account is a little bit older, if you have more reviews, that could help. So all of these kind of
That's
add up
true.
for you to get the buy box. If you need to be price competitive as well, you can't be too high, or and stuff like that. Also, if your price, if you bring your price down to like the cheapest price, but if your item is not available, let's say you just sent it in, it's not going to be in Amazon for 2 weeks. It doesn't matter if you have the lowest price. Amazon's not going to give you the buy box because people are ordering stuff, at that moment. So they want to give the buy box to someone that has the item available at the moment. Yeah. All right. So those
Something
are,
something I
yeah, go ahead.
wanted to go back on because we were talking about seller amp. One of the biggest features I actually just started using, which for retail arbitrage can really change the game when you start purchasing a decent amount of inventory from multiple stores. There's a feature to SellerAmp that a lot of people don't know about, and it's the Google Sheet function. So you can actually create Google Sheets within SellerAmp, and they're linked to each other. And essentially, you can pull all the information from an item that you look up in SellerAmp, and you can just click the Google Sheet button to whichever sheet you want, and it'll bring it to that item on that spreadsheet. So what you can do whenever you get home, say you went to 3 different stores that day and you purchased 100 units. Instead of sitting there looking at this receipt, finding the price to each item, you can actually just go into SellerAmp when you're in the store, put in your cost price, the price you'd like to list at, and click the Google Sheet button. So when you get home, you'll know exactly, okay, this is the item, this is how much I paid, instead of having to sit there, look through 30 different units on one receipt and try and figure out the price you paid for each item. It just speeds up the process a lot.
Yeah. And I didn't know about that. So it's awesome that, you were able to kind of
I
figure it out.
I didn't either until recently.
Yeah.
For
And
the
that's the thing,
longest time, I was looking through receipts, highlighting them
highlighting.
yellow,
Yeah.
and it takes so long. It's unreal. I
Yeah.
can't believe it's for anyone listening, look into the Google Sheet function of Seller App. It can change the game as a
And that's the
retail
thing,
arbitrage
guys.
seller.
You just gotta start doing things, and you start to figure it out. So, like with these, retail arbitrage a lot. Like I remember when I first started doing it. I started with books, right? So that was kind of like things I knew, like what sales strength to stick with and stuff like that. But if you scan a different item, you might not be familiar with its sales rank or how often it sells. So one thing that would help as well is just an easy tip is scan as many products as you can. Get familiar with yourself, because the more you scan things, you might start to find your own niche. Like for Donald here, he started to find shoes, but he started with books. He scanned toys. So it's
Yep.
one of those things that you just got to continue doing it and not think too much.
Yeah, you'll naturally find your place after a while. If you really just stick to it, you'll find what you're comfortable with or what you enjoy doing. You might not even know yet, and you'll just naturally fall into it after a while. You're like, oh, I really enjoy sourcing beauty. And then you really just start looking into the websites. You start learning where the sales are at, the sales cycles, and you can start seeing success. It really doesn't take that much to start seeing success. It could take one supplier to do your first 30, 40, $50,000 month.
Yeah, exactly. And that's the biggest thing about retail arbitrage as well, is you have access to these items like immediately, like, versus like online arbitrage or maybe wholesale. You gotta go out there and do a lot of research. Research is key in those other methods, and spend a lot of time online. Then you do have to wait to get to your items with that. But like with retail arbitrage, you have the physical item yourself, and you can list it like immediately. Like if it's a really hot item, you can list it for FBM, this as long as you have it in your possession, because who knows, by the time you check out or before you even get home, that item could be, someone could have been purchasing that already.
I don't do as much FBM, but I have heard from friends. They list an item FBM in store and they end up walking around the store. And by the time they check out, that item has already sold and they got to go ship it out that day, which is
Yeah,
just crazy.
yeah, that must be a crazy feeling. I haven't happened to me personally, but like, yeah, just like going out there getting paid more than what you originally paid for. That's a beautiful feeling. All right, let's see what else we got here. So if you do end up going to like, you know, different stores, we talked about the products or categories you naturally gravitate towards. What about the stores that you constantly visit? Like, you're going to end up seeing the same employees, managers. What do you expect in terms of like benefits of building these relationships with, employees and managers at the same store that you might go visit all the time?
Building relationships, retail arbitrage is actually huge because think about it. When you're sourcing online OA, there's really not a face to it. You're essentially just swiping your credit card, purchasing inventory. It either goes to your prep center or your house. There's no face to it. But when you're doing retail arbitrage, these are actual people that you're dealing with on a
Guys, we're
daily
human.
basis.
You got to socialize.
Yeah. Yep.
Get out of the house.
So, and that's funny, actually. I mean, I naturally am an introverted person, and when I started back in 2020, just doing the Jordans and stuff, that was actually what really got me out of my comfort zone was going to these stores and just talking to people on a daily basis. Before that, I was kind of a whatever you'd want to call it. I was very introverted, so
Yeah,
it
keeping it
it
to
really
yourself.
is good. But relationships really are big with retail arbitrage. Essentially, it can make or break whether you can pick up inventory. Like sometimes you just might get a text like, "Hey, we got some stuff. Uh, are you interested?" You know?
Yeah,
And I really
before like
think it's
anyone else, honestly.
yeah, it's really important too to just be yourself. Don't let me think about how I should put this. Don't be all take. Don't be all take. It's a mutual relationship between you and a supplier. And start to realize that they have a product, they might have some old product that they want to get rid of. If you can take older product at maybe a smaller margin, but it could help you get better product in the future, I'm personally willing to do that. I'm always willing to try and work with these people. Because like I said, it's a mutual relationship. If you go into these stores and you're just give me, give me, give me, that's the energy you're putting off. These people, I mean, obviously aren't going to want to do business with you. You might make
Yeah,
short-term profits. You might make a quick buck by getting the best inventory and being greedy, but in the long run, those people aren't going to want to work with you anymore. So
yeah.
that really
No,
doesn't do any good for you.
that's a excellent point right there, and it just comes down to that mindset in general, like how you approach, things. If you're just in Amazon for a short term to make that quick buck, you're not going to see as much success versus you stick with this thing for a long time, and that's where you really reap the benefits when things start to compound. Like whether it's this podcast right here, right? We're in our second or third one, but if we just continue and doing it, that's where we're gonna continue, growing the audience, reaping the benefits and stuff like that. But the same thing here, it's that relationship you build with. It's right now it's January, right? Like if you continue building a relationship by December, who knows what kind of things that, you can get from out of it, or, next year, so on and so forth. You get the point.
Exactly. I know people who make full-time income off one store, one supplier. They just have very strong connections with, and they pick up when they need to or when the inventory is available. So again, retail arbitrage is very relationship based, and it is good to just build those relationships. And it's good for just learning overall business and learning how to build proper relationships with some of these partners.
Yeah. What would be someone that you can give to someone, like a tip to kind of just keep that relationship, like, maintained and stuff like that? Like, well, like for me,
I'll,
let me share one. Like, my just simple as my UPS driver, right? Like he gave me his personal number, which is super handy because if I need to schedule a pickup, I can just shoot him a text. He can just be like, "Hey, I'm 30 minutes out or whatever," and I can have stuff ready. I don't have to like sit for a certain, what do you call it? Like a period of time, or is that how you say it? A time range?
Time frame, yeah.
Yeah, time frame. Sorry, guys, late at night. Time frame where it could be from 1 to 4. Now I'm just sitting there, but like it's that little thing where I end up just tipping him, $10, $15, or here's a water here and stuff like that. That can go a long way.
I actually did that too recently with FedEx and UPS drivers, and you'd be surprised at what a small gesture goes a long way.
it's crazy that we're talking about it. At the end of the day, I don't know. It's just, I guess, just being a good human,
I
like
don't,
being
yeah,
nice to
it's
others.
not
I don't
anything I
know.
think. It's not like
Yeah,
anything
that's
I
what I
thought
mean.
of. I was just like, I have some waters. Let me hand the man a water. But I realized like what a big, I don't know. They were just seemed very appreciative. But
Yeah,
I'll tell you what I do when I meet a new supplier.
yeah. Let's do it.
And this
We're already
works,
in the
guys.
we're already in the
Take
deep end.
notes.
Yeah,
Take
yeah.
notes. Whenever I find a new supplier that I really cook up with, simple. I just bring them food afterwards. I'll bring that, whether it be just five Little Caesars pizzas, some cheesy bread, cookies, donuts. What's
Anything.
funny is um, one of the first Nike outlets I really started seeing success with about a year and a half ago. Um, I hit it hard for about 3 days straight during a sale, and at the end, I brought them pizza. I brought pizza for the whole squad, and they had a little
Yeah.
pizza party. I actually didn't go back to that night. I didn't collect. This was when I was pretty new too. Didn't collect anyone's numbers. Didn't even show my face for another 6 months. And when I went back, they remembered me. They're like, "Hey, you're
Look
the
at
guy.
that.
You're the old
Yeah,
fire. You're the guy who brought us pizza. Like, how have you been?" Like, again, just that simple thing. So I've always stuck by that. Just take care of these people, and they'll take care of you.
that's awesome. Yeah, it's one of those things, guys. It's just like, little gestures like that really goes a long way, and they can remember it because, throughout the day they could have people yelling, doing some returns and stuff like that. But if they meet someone cool, like if you've worked retail, you kind of know that feeling because if you meet a cool customer, you guys connect, you have a nice conversation. You might end up telling, like your coworkers, like, "Oh, I just had this cool customer" and stuff like that. So those little things can go a really long way. All right, so
Also,
go ahead.
just side note, when you're doing OA all the time, even if you're really not particularly interested in RA, if you're a full-time OA seller or striving to be that, retail arbitrage is just a good way to get out of the house, break up the monotony of things, you know?
Yeah, get some sun out there, guys. Get some tan.
Yeah. Get off the computer every once in a while. It can
Yeah. So let's say, you have all these items from retail arbitrage, you start to find some success. What what are some of the basic things that you know now that you didn't know before? Because we had listed here, have a portable battery charger with you when you're doing it. Because when you're scanning, your phone's gonna die quickly, which had happened, especially if you go on these like different trips where you go different places and you're gone pretty much, from the morning all the way to night.
oh, dude. It's happened more times than I can count. I can't believe I just bought a portable battery charger. And
Yeah,
it'll happen too. You have to end up running to your car, charge it, try and get up to like 15%, run back in. It's
yeah.
little things like that really do go a long way. Make sure to
Another,
make copies of your tax exempt as well, in case
yes,
the
yeah,
paper
that's
gets lost, or some suppliers want to keep your physical copy. And then I'll ask them, could you make a copy? Well, sometimes
they
they might
don't,
not have
they
a
don't,
printer to
they
make a
don't.
copy. I have to run to
Yeah,
Staples and make a copy. So something very simple. Keep multiple copies of your tax exempt on you.
yeah. No, that's a good one right there. Completely forgot about that. I usually have 5 to 6 copies in my glove box, and in my bag I carry a little, like, what do you call it? Not a satchel. Is it a satchel? A crossbody bag. All right.
There you go.
Usually have,
Sling bag.
yeah, yeah, sling bag, 2 or 3 copies in there, just folded up, just always with me all the time. Another one is, just staying organized when you're going to these different retail stores and stuff like that. You want to try to keep all your receipts in one place, instead of putting it from left pocket, right pocket, so on and so forth. It's going to be a mess. So just try to have a routine wherever you put all your receipts. So that way, when you come home, whatever you need to do, they're all in there and stuff. What about you? What do you do for organization in terms of the receipts?
Yeah, so I also have a bag that for the day I'll store all my receipts in.
That's
When
a
I get
starter
home,
pack.
I
Retail,
actually
the retail arbitrage starter pack.
So we'll provide a link in the description, but you
Yeah.
guys need to get one of these bad boys right here.
All right, what is that? Explain that.
This is a scanner. So what this will do, this could scan any type of paper, but I use it for receipts. So you just slide a receipt in, it connects right up to your computer through USB, click the button, it'll scan your entire receipt. And this is really important because I have receipts from even just a couple months ago that the ink has already rubbed off on. So if you want to keep a good um, electronic copy of your receipts, getting a portable scanner is huge. It's like $100 too.
Yeah, and these things, guys, these are investments. Again, if you plan on doing Amazon seriously, these are investments that you should get. When you do it, because you're gonna end up getting it down the road. Like the portable battery, you can use it just in different things, not just for retail arbitrage, but maybe you go on a trip or something. You know what I mean?
Tax
Um,
write-off too.
yeah,
Not CPA advice.
that's CFA advice. All right, we're coming to 26 minutes here. You want to hit up some couple questions that we have to kind of just end things here, or anything else you want to chime in to help someone how to be successful doing retail arbitrage?
Um, well, you put me on the spot here. Let me see.
No, I mean you don't have to comment. I was just asking if you have anything else you want to add. If not, we can go.
I would
To the
just
question.
backtrack on if you guys are really trying to do retail arbitrage, one of the best ways to keep track is that Seller Amp Google Sheet feature. It's going to save you so much time by already having your buy cost automatically input. Um, it'll save you so much time.
I actually have another one. This is more like when you start scaling, start growing a little bit, or I don't know, maybe if you're just busy, you don't have time to prep and do all your items, is to look for a local prep center. Started recently doing this maybe 2 months ago. I got this advice from Donald because I don't know, he started a little bit longer than me, but it's really a game changer. Like especially like this week is a lot of products that come in. I normally try to do some of my prepping. Then I do have another prep center in a different state, but like just having stuff here locally, it's so handy because I dropped off like 500 units there. She knows me. I see her in person. I get to talk with her, and I can be giving her specific instruction as well, and just giving me like feeling make me feel better because I can trust her. After knowing who she is and stuff like that.
Yeah, it really helps with quality control because you're really building a close-knit relationship with a local prep center. And also, something a lot of people don't realize, if you're in a state that is taxed and you find a local prep center, odds are the prices for them to do your prep are going to be much lower because the competition is where the sales tax free prep centers are, because obviously they have all the clients from other states. But if you're in, say, Nebraska or Arkansas and you just have to pay normal sales tax and you find a local prep center, you might be paying a lot less than somebody who has a prep. You will be paying a lot less than somebody who has a prep center in Montana, New Hampshire, or Oregon.
Yeah, all that stuff. No, that's a good point as well. Um, to kind of just look in your local backyard. Who knows? Like I found mine through Google. There was a bunch actually. Like I was surprised. It's just like those little things that slip out of your mind. But that's for someone that's looking to scale up or just don't have time to do it and stuff. All right,
Hell, even
you
if
ready to
you're
get?
not looking to scale up, even as a beginner, use a prep center. Why do the prep? You
That's
know,
the energy for 2024 here. No, no prep
no
boys.
prep 2024.
High vibrations only. All
Yes.
right, you ready for some questions?
Yeah, let's do it.
All right, we got here from amz.pab recommendations for business credit cards. What are your top business credit cards you'd recommend?
When I first started, the Amex Business Gold, I got approved for that card actually with, I'll be honest, pretty poor credit. They approved me somehow. So Amex, they're the GOAT for giving you high credit limits pretty quick. If you spend with it, it's flexible spending. So you can build those credits pretty quick. I think I went from 5,000 to 40,000 within the first 6 months, maybe. Um, Amex Gold is a great card. I really recommend looking into 0% APR cards as a beginner. The Chase Ink Unlimited, Chase Ink Cash, these are great cards. You can usually, they might start you with a smaller limit, but you can build it up relatively fast, and they're zero APR, meaning you can actually hold that balance on them for the entire period of the zero APR, which is usually 12 to 16 months, and you just have to make the minimum payments. So it's a good way to keep money in the business, and you can continue reinvesting that money.
Yeah, that 0% is a game changer. That was the card I think I had to discover. That was my first 0% card at the time
Hmm.
when I first started. It's just super helpful. Yeah, if you're a beginner, get access to 0%. That's the number one. But if you already have the 0% stuff like that, higher tier cards like Amex Gold, you have your Chase Ink Premier. These are for like higher limits you're trying to spend because they don't really have a set like credit. They're not capped. It's more of like your spending history. So those are good cards to start.
If you're a beginner, I would actually, my number one recommendation would be the Amex Business Blue card. It's 0% APR, and that is also flexible spending. It'll tell you it has a hard credit limit on it, but you can build it very fast. It's a very good card. It has the power of spending like a platinum or gold card, but you get the benefits of it being a 0% APR card. So that would be my number one recommendation.
Zero, no annual fee on that card too.
Yep, yep.
Yeah.
Really good card.
All right. I guess we can both answer this. How long did it take before seeing any progress? That was asked by 111CK11.
You first, go ahead.
All right. So for me, it was I think 5, 6 months into it. I started with books. So I was there for a little bit. Then I started to dabble with online arbitrage, started ordering some toys right before Q4. And yeah, that's where I started to see some sales where the possibility just opened up. And I was like, what if I spent, because it was a side hustle for me at the time. I had a full-time job. So I was like, what if I do this full time? What can I achieve? So that was the thing that really changed for me.
Yeah, for me it was actually I remember it was
Like yesterday.
it was also 6 months into it. It was because it was back to school season. We were networking with some other people, and we all ended up going pretty deep on some really fast moving products. And that was the first time, that was when I really started to see success. It was like that 6 months of learning and networking just kind of was like a pressure cooker.
Yeah. And guys, it could be different time frames for everyone. Some people can get it quick. Like we've seen people that scale up, the first month, second month, which is insane. Some people can take a little bit. So,
And vice
it all
versa. It might
depends.
take you, everyone goes at their own pace. Biggest thing
Don't
I would
compare.
recommend too is don't compare yourself to everyone else you're seeing. You're looking at social media, you're looking at these orange bars, you're like, why am I not there yet? If you just continue putting in the work, you will see the success. I 110% promise you.
Yeah. What you can do is definitely use it as motivation. If X, Y, and Z
Yeah.
can do it, you can as well. So that's a good way to take that energy and, put that fuel to make your fire a lot bigger. All right. Let's see what else. How to maintain cash flow. How to maintain cash flow. Well, we kind of hit about it regarding the 0% is, especially if you're a beginner, you have a year, sometimes 15, 18 months to pay the card off in full. So that helps a lot in terms of cash flow. I also use a tracking sheet where I look at it every Monday, how much money I'm getting from Amazon, what are my credit card bills. I just update it, what's in my business bank account, just making sure, I'm not too over leveraged and stuff like that. So simple tracking can help like that in terms of maintaining your cash flow.
Yeah, you track it a little better than me. When I was first starting, I was really just going with comfort levels. And then after I started seeing a little bit success and actually making some money in the business, I just continually reinvested that. And I think it was during that back to school time where I started over leveraging a little bit, but I feel like it's also a good thing because you need to get out of your comfort zone from time to time. Like something that might be stopping, you might already know what you need to know, but what's stopping you is just getting comfortable spending larger amounts of money. Because in this business, it is an inventory based business. It could seem scary to spend $30,000 in a month or even $5,000 in a month. But just getting out of that comfort zone is once you actually know what you're doing is huge.
Yeah, you kind of become almost numb to it, which is crazy because when I first started, $500, I was like, oh, I don't know, it's a lot of money. So
Yeah.
now it's just like, anyways, different topic for a different day. All right, we got one more question here. Exclusively Erica TV asks, how many sellers on the listing is too many? I feel like
That's
we
a
can
great
answer this.
question.
Yeah, I don't know if there's a black and white answer here, or
No, it really depends on,
yeah,
I hate to say it's
for real.
case by case, but
Yeah,
I mean, I was just looking at a listing today. It's ranked 50. There's 100 sellers on it, but that item sells 30,000 times a month. If you can buy it profitable, who gives a shit if there's 100 sellers on the listing?
it's gonna fly.
But
Mhm.
if in that same category, say shoes, if in the shoe category it's ranked 150,000, might be a little bit different. That's still a great selling item, but if there's 80 sellers on a shoe that's ranked 150,000, I might take a second look before buying a large amount. Again, though, if you can get it for the right price, you can sell anything.
Yeah, agreed. But if you're really looking for an answer, like if you're a beginner, just have something to follow with. I would say stay under 20 sellers or below, 15 sellers or below, even better. Just
Yeah.
to if you really need a guideline or like a bumper, like when you play bowling, you need that bumper lane stuff. Just stay within those, and just to make sure that the price don't tank, and make sure you still have profit. You get the rotation of the buy box, and so on and so forth.
Some
Cool.
items you buy might be to the point where you have to break even or take a small loss, but out of every 10 different items you're buying, if 7 out of 10 are profitable and 2 out of 10 are break even, 1 out of 10 is a loss, then you can tell you're on the right track.
And that takes practice, just like with everything else you kind of put together in this episode here. It's just
It comes
yeah.
with time for sure, because obviously you're not gonna, it takes a while. You buy the item, you prep it yourself or send it to a prep center, and then the item sells. So it kind of takes a while to see the whole process over
But once
multiple
you
items,
yeah,
especially.
but I'll give you guys a warning. Once you do, you might get hooked into it, and you might start podcasts talking about Amazon FBA, like we are here doing tonight at really late at night.
Yep.
Yeah, but we're making it
Yep.
happen for you guys. Hopefully, you found this episode super helpful in terms of tips and advice from our own experience about retail arbitrage. And yeah, those are the things we talked about, are like literally practical advice that we had experienced. We're sharing it with you. Any questions, you feel free to DM. Where can everyone find you, Mr. Donald?
BC Kicks 23 on Instagram.
On IG, and I'm at Lester John Official IG. If you are on YouTube, feel free to comment, put your questions there so we can answer it on the next one. Any last words or thoughts before we end it here, before we wrap it up?
Get out there and build those relationships. Have some Little Caesars pizzas on standby.
Hell
You
yeah.
might need them.
And scan as many items as you can. That's my last message here. Thank you guys for watching. To the next one.
Thanks, guys.
Adios.